Let us begin with a question, a simple question, really, but one that carries within it the weight of everything that follows. Are you awake right now? You might say yes. Of course you are. Your eyes are open. You are listening. You are here. But the ancient teachers of the Hermetic tradition would smile gently at this answer. They would say, that is precisely what every dreamer believes, while still dreaming. This teaching is about waking up, not in the ordinary sense, not the kind of waking that happens each morning when the alarm sounds, but a deeper waking, a waking from a dream you did not know you were having. The Hermetic tradition, preserved through centuries by quiet schools and secret fraternities, holds that human beings live most of their lives in a kind of sleep. We move through the world, we work and love and suffer, we pursue our pleasures and flee our pains, and through all of it, we remain unconscious of who we actually are. We believe we are making choices, we believe we are acting freely. But the teaching says, look more carefully, watch yourself, and you will see that you are not choosing at all. You are reacting. You are a very sophisticated machine, the science of hidden reality. Consider how far humanity has traveled in its knowledge of the outer world. We have mapped the genome. We have sent machines to the edge of the solar system. We can split the atom and glimpse the birth of galaxies. And yet, and this is the great paradox, we remain almost entirely ignorant of ourselves. We know matter, but not mind. We know the chemistry of the brain, but not the nature of the one who experiences. We have conquered the external world, while remaining strangers in our own inner landscape. The Hermetic teaching begins here. It says, there is a science of the inner world just as rigorous as any science of the outer. But this science has been preserved in secret, not because the teachers were selfish, but because the knowledge itself is dangerous when given to those not ready to receive it. Now, let us be honest about something from the beginning. The word occult has been badly damaged. It conjures images of charlatans and fortune tellers, of crystals and candles and vague promises of supernatural power. Most of what passes for occultism in the modern marketplace is exactly that, a marketplace, selling spiritual entertainment to the curious and the desperate. The authentic tradition asks for something different. It does not promise quick results. It does not sell secrets. It simply says, if you want to know the truth about yourself and the universe, you must be willing to work for it, not for a weekend, not for a course, for a lifetime. This is the price of admission. And most people, when they truly understand what is being asked, quietly walk away. That is entirely appropriate. This work is not for everyone. It never was. The myth of human freedom. Here is one of the most difficult truths the teaching offers, and I ask you to consider it carefully, because everything else depends on grasping this. You do not have free will, not yet. Free will is not something you are born with. It is something that must be earned. It is a prize at the end of a long and difficult journey, not a gift given at the start. Think of a human being as a very complex machine. You were programmed by your parents, by your culture, by your schooling, by your peers. Every preference you have, every opinion you hold, every habit of thought and feeling, all of this was installed in you by forces you did not choose. When you say, I want this, or I believe that, look carefully. Is this truly your wanting, your belief? Or is it simply the machine running its program? And here is something even stranger to consider. You do not have a single, unified I. You have many eyes. The I that makes a resolution in the morning is not the same I that breaks it by evening. The I that loves someone deeply is not the same I that criticizes them harshly an hour later. We are not one person. We are a crowd. Imagine a house with many rooms, and in each room sits a different person with different desires and fears and beliefs. And these people take turns sitting on the throne of consciousness, each one claiming to be the real me, while it rules, each one forgetting the others exist. This is our normal condition, a kaleidoscope of changing selves, each usurping the throne for a moment, none of them truly in charge. No wonder we feel so fragmented. No wonder we cannot keep our promises even to ourselves. There is no unified self there to keep them. The work of awakening begins with seeing this, not with changing it, not yet, but simply with seeing it, because you cannot change what you have not first observed. The immortal spark and the animal mask. The Hermetic tradition draws a careful distinction between two things that most people confuse: spirit and soul. The spirit is what you are. The soul is what you have. Think of it this way. Imagine a driver sitting in a car. The spirit is the driver, the immortal spark of consciousness that persists beyond any single lifetime. The soul is the car's entire operating system, the dashboard, the onboard computer, the personality built up through this particular life. Most people have completely identified with the car. They have forgotten they are the driver. They think the dashboard's readings are their feelings. They think the car's preferences are their choices. They have confused the vehicle with the one who rides in it. The goal of all genuine spiritual work is what the tradition calls the sacred marriage, the reunion of spirit and soul. This means the driver learns to take the wheel. The eternal spark learns to guide and direct the personality, rather than being dragged along wherever the personality wants to go. This is not about destroying the personality. The soul is not the enemy. It is the vehicle through which the spirit experiences the world and acts within it. A healthy soul is a beautiful and necessary thing. The problem is only that the relationship is reversed. The car is driving the driver, the servant has become the master, and until this is corrected, true freedom is impossible. The heart, the emotions, these are powerful forces, but they are blind forces. They attract experiences and vibrations chaotically, without discrimination. Left ungoverned, they will pull you into one drama after another, one attachment after another, one suffering after another. Only when the spirit takes its proper place as guide can the heart become what it is meant to be, a powerful ally, rather than an unconscious tyrant. The workshop of reality. Now we come to one of the central principles of Hermetic science. It can be stated simply, though its implications are vast. The universe is mental. Everything is mind. What does this mean? It means that what we call the physical world is not as solid as it appears. It is, at its deepest level, a form of thought, a form of mental energy that has been slowed down, condensed, crystallized into the appearance of matter. Think of water in its three states: steam, liquid, ice. They are all the same substance, just vibrating at different speeds. Ice seems solid, fixed, permanent, but it is simply slow water. And if you change the temperature, the energy, the ice becomes liquid, then vapor, then invisible. In the same way, the Hermetic teaching says, what you call matter is simply slow thought, dense mind, crystallized consciousness. What the practical implication is profound. If the physical world is ultimately mental in nature, then changing your mind changes your world, not symbolically, not metaphorically, actually, but, and this is essential, not in the shallow way the modern self-help industry suggests. You cannot simply think positive and expect the universe to rearrange itself. The principle is real, but it operates through deep mental structure, through the sustained vibration of consciousness, through the accumulated weight of habitual thought. Every thought you have is not merely a passing cloud in the sky of the mind. Every thought is an act of creation. You are, whether you know it or not, constantly generating mental offspring. The tradition says, every thought you think, and especially every thought you think repeatedly and with strong emotion, creates a semi-autonomous being, a mental child, an entity that now has its own existence, however faint, and that will seek to perpetuate itself. Consider what this means. When you indulge in resentment, you are not just experiencing a feeling, you are birthing something. You are creating a being that lives in your mental field, and that will now require feeding. It will pull your attention back to resentment again and again, because that is how it survives. When you repeatedly fantasize about revenge or wallow in self-pity, you are not just passing the time, you are raising children, dark children that will grow stronger with each feeding. This is why negative patterns are so hard to break. You are not just fighting a habit, you are fighting a being you created, one that wants to live. The energy vampires. Let us speak now about desire. Desire, in itself, is not wrong. It is the engine of life, the force that moves us toward experience, toward growth, toward creation. Without desire, nothing would happen at all. But uncontrolled desire is a chain. Each time you allow a desire to possess you, to drive you, to dictate your actions without the consent of your conscious will, you are forging another link in a chain that binds you to matter, to suffering, to the endless wheel of craving and temporary satisfaction, and craving again. Here the teaching offers a remarkable insight. Those powerful cravings that seem to come from deep within you, the urge to smoke, to drink, to rage, to consume, these are not simply parts of your psychology, they are entities. The tradition calls them desire beings. The medieval world knew them as incubi and succubi, terms that have been badly misunderstood. These are not demons from some external hell. They are vampires of your own creation, parasites that live in your energy field, and that survive by compelling you to repeat the behaviors that feed them. Consider addiction. When you try to stop a deeply ingrained habit, why does it feel like you are fighting something? Because you are. The desire being attached to that habit is fighting for its life. It will generate cravings, rationalizations, elaborate justifications, anything to get you to feed it one more time. Knowing this changes the nature of the struggle. You are not fighting yourself, you are fighting a parasite, and parasites can be starved. Every time you refuse to feed the craving, the being weakens. Every time you observe the urge without acting on it, you reclaim a small piece of your sovereignty. This is not easy, but understanding what you are actually dealing with makes the work possible. The sacred generator, of all the forces available to a human being, perhaps none is more powerful or more poorly understood than sexual energy. The Hermetic tradition does not view sexuality as the repressive religious traditions often have, as something shameful to be suppressed. Nor does it adopt the modern view that sexuality is merely a form of entertainment or physical recreation. It sees sexual energy as a generator, a power plant, a source of magnetic vitality that can be used for creation on multiple levels, not just the biological. There is a quality the tradition calls etheric magnetism. You have felt it in people, though you may not have had a name for it. Some individuals walk into a room and the room shifts. They are compelling without being loud, attractive without being conventionally beautiful. They seem to have more life in them than others. This is not charisma in the shallow sense. It is accumulated vital force, and it can be gained or lost. Sexual energy, when conserved rather than scattered, builds this magnetism. It becomes a reservoir of power that can be directed toward any purpose: creative work, spiritual development, worldly achievement. The tradition speaks of transmutation, the conversion of raw sexual force into refined spiritual currency. But when this energy is carelessly dispersed through excessive indulgence, through scattered desires, through the leaking of vital force in jealousy and obsession, the reservoir drains, and with it goes the vitality, the luck, the attracting power that should be yours by birthright. Sexual intimacy is not merely a physical act. It is a fusion of energy fields. When two people come together sexually, their auras merge. They exchange something real. This is why the tradition advises great care in choosing partners. To merge energetically with someone carrying negative vibrations is like connecting your personal power supply to a virus-laden system. This is not prudishness. It is energetic hygiene. The infinite mind. What, then, is God in the Hermetic understanding? It is not what most religions have taught. It is not a bearded man on a throne. It is not a capricious deity who punishes those who displease him and rewards those who flatter him properly. God, in this teaching, is mind itself, the great universal mind, the consciousness that underlies and gives rise to all things, the energy behind all matter, the dreamer within the dream. And here is something crucial. This God does not punish or reward based on prayer or pleading. The universe operates according to immutable laws. Cause and effect is absolute. You cannot escape the consequences of your actions by begging for exemption. When suffering comes to you, it is not punishment from an angry deity. It is the natural consequence of causes you yourself set in motion, perhaps in this life, perhaps long before. When good things come to you, it is not a reward for being virtuous, it is the fruit of seeds you planted. This sounds cold at first hearing. Where is mercy? Where is grace? But consider, this teaching actually restores your power. If you are the cause of your conditions, then you are also the potential cause of different conditions. You are not a helpless victim pleading with an arbitrary judge. You are a creator working within an orderly cosmos. Learn the laws, align with them, and you become not the slave of fate, but its master. The universe is not chaotic. It is lawful beyond our capacity to fully comprehend. And the laws apply equally to everyone. There are no favorites, there are no exceptions. There is only cause and consequence, extending infinitely in all directions. The cycle of existence. Why are you here? What is the purpose of this life? The Hermetic teaching on reincarnation is not quite what you might expect. It does not suggest that you are here to learn some vague lesson and then move on. It offers something more precise. The spirit, that immortal spark we spoke of earlier, inhabits many bodies across time, not for punishment, not as a cosmic treadmill, but for the sake of experience. Each lifetime offers a different angle on existence, a different set of conditions through which the spirit can know itself more fully. The memory is wiped between lives. This is not cruelty. It is mercy. It allows you to approach each new existence fresh, unencumbered by the weight of thousands of previous identities. Imagine trying to function while remembering every failure, every betrayal, every heartbreak across 100 lifetimes. The forgetting is a gift. But here is where it becomes interesting. The teaching draws a sharp distinction between fate and destiny. For the unawakened person, the one still sleeping, still run by the machine, everything is written. Your reactions are predictable. Your choices are predetermined by your programming. Give a skilled observer your birth chart and your biography, and they can predict your life with considerable accuracy. This is fate. It is the track the machine runs on. But the initiate, the one who wakes up, who crystallizes a real I, who takes the driver's seat, begins to escape fate, not by fighting it, but by transcending it, by becoming conscious where before there was only mechanism. This is why awakening matters. It is not a luxury. It is not a hobby for the spiritually curious. It is the difference between being a puppet of cosmic forces and becoming a genuine participant in creation. And what of death? The tradition says death is simply birth into another dimension. When the physical body is shed, you enter a world of energy, the world from which your thoughts came, the world where your mental children live. There you will meet them. If you created angels, You will be greeted by angels. If you created demons, they will be waiting for you. This is not theology. It is physics of a kind. It is simply how things work. The battle for the driver's seat. The tradition offers an image that may help clarify everything we have discussed. It is the image of the pentagram, the five-pointed star. When the pentagram stands upright or with one point at the top, it represents the ideal human state. That top point is the spirit, the conscious will. The four lower points represent the four elements of the body, the physical, the emotional, the mental, and the energetic aspects of our earthly existence. In this configuration, spirit rules. The higher governs the lower. Consciousness directs the elements rather than being dragged by them. But when the pentagram is inverted, 2 points up, 1 point down, the relationship is reversed. Now matter rules spirit. The body's appetites and fears dictate to consciousness. The car is driving the driver. Most human beings live in the inverted pentagram most of the time. Their hunger tells them to eat, and they eat. Their anger tells them to shout, and they shout. Their lust tells them to pursue, and they pursue. The spirit, which should be commanding, is merely along for the ride. The work of awakening is the work of writing the star, and it happens not in grand moments of revelation, but in small daily acts of conscious choice. When you're tired and the body wants to stay in bed, but you rise anyway because you have chosen to, you are writing the star. When you are angry and the emotion wants to explode, but you observe it and decline to act, you are writing the star. When you are craving and the desire seems overwhelming, but you choose to let it pass without feeding it, you are writing the star. These small victories are not minor. They are the entire practice. They are how the inverted pentagram, one choice at a time, is rotated back to its proper position. The tradition also suggests that many physical illnesses originate not in the body, but in the soul. A negative coagulation in the energy field, a crystallized resentment, a hardened fear, a frozen grief, eventually manifests as disease in the physical form. This does not mean illness is your fault, but it suggests that true healing sometimes requires work at a deeper level than the merely physical. Practical wisdom for the path. Let me offer, and before we close, some practical principles that emerge from this teaching. These are not abstract philosophies, they are tools for daily life. First, become aware of your mental children. Begin to notice your repetitive thoughts, especially the negative ones. Do not judge them, simply observe, and recognize that each one is a being you have created, a being that is feeding on your attention. When a depressive thought arises for the 100th time, see it for what it is, a parasite requesting its meal. You have the option not to serve dinner. Second, conserve your magnetism. In an age of constant sharing, of emotional venting, of overstimulation, learn the power of containment. When you feel an impulse to immediately tell someone your good news or your bad news, pause. Ask yourself, do I really need to discharge this energy, or can I hold it, let it build, let it transform into something more substantial? Silence is power. Not silence as repression, but silence as accumulation. Third, perform the android check several times a day, especially in moments of stress or reaction. Ask yourself, did I choose this, or did it just happen? Did I decide to feel this anger, or did the anger simply arise and take over? The moment you observe the machine reacting, you create a tiny gap. In that gap lives the possibility of freedom. Fourth, understand that your relationships are energy exchanges. Be conscious of who you allow into your inner field. Some people leave you energized and clear, others leave you drained and foggy. This is not metaphor. You are exchanging real substance. Choose your intimacies, emotional and physical, with care. Fifth, practice living as the upright pentagram. In every choice, what to eat, how to spend your time, whether to act on an impulse, ask, is spirit ruling here, or is the body dictating? Is the driver in the seat, or is the car in control? Do small things the body does not want to do, not as punishment, but as practice. Prove to yourself, again and again, that you are not merely the vehicle. The tensions within the teaching. Before we end, it is worth acknowledging that this teaching contains certain tensions, apparent contradictions that, upon reflection, reveal something deeper. The tradition says, love one another. And yet it also warns that most of what we call love is magnetic deception, emotional intoxication, a form of possession rather than liberation. How do we reconcile this? The answer lies in levels. There is vulgar love, which is really a form of taking. I love you because you make me feel good, because you meet my needs, because I crave your presence. This love is dependency disguised as devotion. And there is initiated love, which is a radiation of excess. When you have accumulated real power, real magnetism, you have something to give. Your love becomes a gift rather than a demand. You must become full before you can truly overflow. Similarly, and the teaching says, everything is written, fate is absolute. And yet the entire purpose of the teaching is to help you escape fate and gain freedom. How can both be true? The resolution is in levels of being. For the machine, the sleepwalker, fate is indeed absolute. The machine's future can be calculated because it will simply run its program. But the one who wakes up becomes, by that very waking, something new, something no longer fully predictable, no longer merely mechanical. Freedom is not a birthright, it is an achievement. And finally, the teaching says all is illusion, and yet it insists that work in the material world is sacred, that matter must be mastered, that the physical plane is not to be escaped but transformed. This prevents spiritual bypassing. You cannot simply declare the world an illusion and therefore not worth engaging. The illusion is the raw material. It is what you have to work with. A sculptor does not say the marble is merely apparent and therefore not worth carving. The apparent is precisely what must be shaped. Questions for the journey. I want to leave you with 3 questions. Not questions that require an answer so much as questions that require attention. Carry them with you. Let them work on you. First, if you look at your actions today, which eye has been sitting on the throne? Was it the eye of gluttony, of irritation, of distraction, of conscious will? You need not judge. Simply see. Notice who has been running the show. Second, who or what did you allow to feed on your energy today? When you left that conversation, that encounter, that screen, were you lighter and stronger, or drained and empty? Third, are you currently the parent of your thoughts, directing them with intention? Or are you the child, being pushed around by the mental children you created yesterday? These are not rhetorical questions. They are instruments for self-observation. Use them daily. They cost nothing but attention, and they can reveal everything. An invitation. We began with a question. Are you awake right now? Perhaps, after all this, you are slightly more awake than you were. Perhaps, for a moment, you glimpsed the machinery. Perhaps you felt the presence of the driver behind the dashboard. If so, that moment will pass. You will forget. The dream will close in again, as it always does. The machine will resume its program. This is not failure. This is the nature of the work. We wake for a moment, then sleep. Wake a little longer, then sleep again, gradually, with practice. The waking moments extend. Gradually, the observer becomes more continuous. Gradually, Something crystallizes that does not fall back asleep so easily. The Hermetic tradition does not ask you to believe anything. It does not ask you to join anything. It simply says, try it. Observe yourself. Watch the machine. Notice the mental children. Feel the pull of desire beings. Practice writing the pentagram. If you do these things sincerely, over time, something will change. Not because you believe the right doctrine, because you did the work, because you earned the result. That is the invitation, not to adopt a new philosophy, not to acquire new beliefs, but to begin a practice, quiet, daily, persistent, that leads from mechanical sleep toward conscious freedom. The door is open. It always has been. The question is simply whether you will walk through. May your waking be gentle, may your practice be steady, and may you find within yourself that which has never been asleep.